Hi, I'm Warren Sprouse. This is the Bible Forum. We're here every Sunday night from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern, and we do it for you. We look at life through a biblical lens, and we solve all the world's problems in 2 hours or less. Did you see Hillary this week? Did you hear what FBI Director Comey had to say about the things that they talked about, the determination of her particular case? I think we've all heard something about it. Hillary was believed to be careless with the law. She was believed to be careless with our security, but she did not intend to do anything unlawful. I would suggest that you keep your ears open to the next time you hear those phrases in court. Somebody who has done something to someone and uses this defense in court. And when you hear it, keep your ears peeled for the laughter. There is no judge in this country that would allow that as a plea. It is hysterical. It is over the top. But that's the logic. That's the rationale being used by Director Comey. What we don't understand, and I haven't heard anybody actually articulate this, but what we don't understand is that what the director told us was the issue is applicable to people in Mrs. Clinton's category. He says no reasonable prosecutor would bring such a case to trial. He did not say no crime was committed. A man conversant with business, law, and deals made at the highest levels writes to explain, and he says, quote, "I was chief economist at the United States Sentencing Commission. I worked frequently with prosecutors. The bar for bringing criminal charges against a politician, particularly a high public official, is so much higher than they are for anyone else. Prosecutions against such high public officials only go forward when there is definitive evidence that prosecutors know will lead to a certain conviction." What is it that's really at issue here? At issue is the reputation of loss, not for Mrs. Clinton, but for the attorneys that would be bringing this to the court. The politician or the whoever this person may be is in a place where they have done something bad, they have broken a law, something you'd go to jail for. But if you can't pin it on, if you can't make it work, you have put them through this embarrassing process and they didn't get judged guilty. What does that mean? Well, it means they're probably coming after you. In these cases, it may be that you'll end up working for her one day. She might be president of the United States. How about that? This is a lady who, when her husband was president, had over 400 FBI files in her possession. The people who think she has theirs also think she still does. And what else? And it's not just her. It's people at that level. FBI Director Comey did not treat Hillary differently from other high public officials, but he clearly treated her differently from other Americans. But politicians are not unique. CEOs of major companies or public figures in other areas also face loss of careers simply by being charged. Possibly, prosecutors are simply more sensitive to politicians because they do work for them and because these politicians have political connections. If Comey is to be faulted, it must be because he didn't explain these differences in his statement on Tuesday. He did not even explain it this way before Congress a couple of days later. He said no reasonable prosecutor would bring such a case. He should have made it clear that they wouldn't have done so against any high public official. Now, this is clearly not what the founders and our Constitution intended. Our way of life is based on treating everyone the same. However, in case you haven't been paying attention, our way of life has changed. We are now a very secularized and immoral community. Secularized and immoral is another way of saying flexible. Our morality is whatever works today. Parents no longer shield their children from everyday evil. We used to complain about television. Now these kids have more than that walking around on their hip, in their pocket, in their purse, 24 hours a day. They never turn these things off. And everyday evil is significantly greater today than it was 50 years ago, and thereby significantly more destructive of individual and of corporate morality. Outgoing President Obama has made it clear he wants his legacy to reflect a more secular society, a society emphasizing the LGBTQIA community. This acronym is getting longer. LGB has just become LGBTQIA. It'll get bigger before it's done. If you're not familiar with it, it represents the lesbian, the gay, the bisexual, transgender, queer, intersex, and asexual communities. His stated purpose is to provide a free and accepting atmosphere for all people. His assumption? These people, these conditions, philosophies, behaviors are not healthy, nor are they productive to any society. History has demonstrated that over and over again. Only the most pagan of societies have embraced these behaviors. But he now wants them all to be accepted in our culture. Where will that lead us? If history has demonstrated continually that these things are not healthy to a culture, and that they are embraced almost universally by pagan societies throughout history, where's this leading? Paul Kenger, a college professor and author of a book called Takedown, From Communists to Progressives, How the Left Has Sabotaged Family and Marriage, says it is significant that the White House would release the fact sheet in the final months of Obama's presidency, a time when presidential historians view the president's legacy period. This is the time when Obama and his staff of legacy shapers, nature redefiners, and fundamental transformers are looking to hammer out his legacy for the ages. And the legacy they seem to most cherish is his legacy of fundamental transformation of the cultural, sexual, gender front. What can we do about any of this? Well, I would suggest we hide our children. I would strongly suggest that each of us take a giant step backward from all of our media outlets, from television, radio, iPads, iPods, tweets, Facebook, whatever it is. These things are becoming more and more and more disgusting and destructive. And even the parents who want to help their children, want to do right by their kids, haven't got a clue what is influencing their child's values, standards, and morality. It used to be that a child only knew what their parents told them about life outside the community. Now these children know things you don't know. These children see the pictures, moving pictures of actual people engaged in these behaviors, looking this way, acting this way, talking this way. The average 10-year-old is not an innocent child. This just makes it that much harder. And believe me when I tell you, these people are out to get your children. We changed our educational system in the 1930s. A man by the name of Dewey, father of American education, a psychologist, psychiatrist. He changed education. 30 years later, 35 years later, the college students were in the streets protesting the government in violent ways and burning the books in libraries. 35 years, from the 1930s to the mid-1960s. And it's only gotten worse since then. Our children are in institutions of higher learning, and they're learning that American values are not any good. Look for more Hillarys. Look for more violence and more sex and more drugs and more everything before it's over.